thinking about why we all love football so much. I mean, it's a wonderful sport, it's exciting, but why do we connect it the way we do? Why do we do it so deeply? And I think part of it is because it represents a little bit more than Cowan Rangers represent the town. They represent who we are, and they represent how we present ourselves to the outside world. The outside world, of course, still thinks it Cowan and we lock the gate at 11 o'clock at night, but that's not true. It's 10:30. But there have been some amazing times over the years for the Buffs, and I remember that sense of community I spoke about there. When we went to Love Street in 1999 for the semi-final, and I thought, God, half the town is here. And then when we went to Firhill for the final, I thought, no, the whole town is here. And these are incredible memories, and the things that we can pass on from one generation to the next. We're here now, of course, at this particular stadium rather than Abbey Park, but it continues. The legacy, though, is the thing that we can discuss and pass on to the next generation. And the men that we're honouring tonight are the men who helped create that legacy, that history, the history that you can go and see in the museum down at the bottom. And I hope you all do later tonight. There will be a pop-up shop as well, so get your wallets ready and contribute towards a club. Now, the raffle, you may have seen, there are envelopes on the table. Please, it's a tenner, put it in. You can pay by contactless if you wish to enter that way as well. So I am going to pass you to the first induction, and I'm going to ask up to the table, could Alan McAlpine, the Vice Chairman, come up, and he will deliver the welcome speech to everyone.
A very warm welcome to the inaugural Cowan Rangers FC Hall of Fame. Each year, we'll honour those who have played a part in the club's history and induct them at this yearly ceremony. But before I start, I would just like to give everyone a bit of background information about how this has come about and why we're here tonight. So can I just ask Lee Quinn to stand up, wherever he is? So Lee, you know how it's funny, some of the best ideas come at random times, and for Lee, the idea of the Hall of Fame hit whilst he was in the shower, as often the best ideas do. Lee's actually a big WWE wrestling fan and watched their own Hall of Fame event, part of their big annual celebration, and he thought, why don't we do something just like that for our own club, for the Buffs, something that honours the greats, celebrates our history and brings everyone together, and something that makes the club special. So Lee sat on the idea for a bit. He did some digging, and the more he looked into it, the more he thought, aye, this could really work. And Lee took it to Davy Jamieson over a pint at a home match. He gave him the full pitch, and for what felt like a lifetime, Davy just sat there staring at Lee. Then he says, great idea, wee man, let's take it to the chairman. So as luck would have it, Colin Evans, the chairman at the time, was passing by at that exact moment. And Lee and Davy grabbed them, shared the idea, and before they knew it, they had the green light. And from there, they formed just a wee committee, Lee Quinn, Davy Jamieson, and Jim Coburn. And that's when the Hall of Fame really started to take shape. So these guys spoke at length about what it should mean, how it should feel, and how to make sure it truly honoured the people who've given so much to this club. So tonight, standing here and seeing it all comes to life, I think it's really something special. So I'd like everyone, if you could, to be upstanding, to raise your glasses, to Lee, Davy and Jim, the Hall of Fame committee. So guys, in the absence of the chairman, who's actually on holiday at the moment, it's fallen on me to start the ceremony. So I'd like to start the induction and the first induction is Mr. Robert Muirhead. So in 1899, at the Abbey Green in Cowanning, Mr. Robert Muirhead played a leading role in the founding of Cowanning Rangers Football Club. And from those early beginnings, the Buffs have grown into one of the town's most cherished and important institutions. Robert proudly wore the jersey from the club's formation in 1899 until around 1906, 1907. And he laid the foundations both on and off the park for the success and the tradition that would follow. So tonight, Robert takes his rightful place in the Cowanning Rangers Hall of Fame, a posthumous honour that ensures his contribution will never be forgotten. And more recently, with the blessing of his family, the club were able to mark Robert's final resting place with a plaque, proudly acknowledging him as the founder of Cowanning Rangers. That plaque was unveiled at a small ceremony by our supporters liaison officer Lee Quinn, alongside members of Robert's family. And a special thanks goes to Quinn Memorials of Kilbirnie for their craftsmanship and generosity in providing the plaque. Robert's name and his legacy will forever be part of the Buff story. So again, apologies for this. I'm going to ask you to stand again. If you could, charge your glasses. To Robert Muirhead. Can I now ask Margaret if she would come up and accept the award? Putting it back to you. Okay, so again, the next induction is Robert Bobby Brown. Our next Hall of Fame nominee is none other than Robert or Bobby Brown. Bobby was born in 1888 in Union Place in Cowanning and sadly passed away in February 1962, aged 74. Signing for the Buffs in 1905-06 season, Bobby became a stalwart in our side, winning no less than 7 major honours and a Junior Scotland cap. Bobby was a big player in the first Junior Scottish Cup win in 1909 when we beat Strathclyde 1-0 and also played in our final the following season, 1910. In 1910, Bobby signed for Glasgow Rangers and he made his debut against St Mirren at Ibrox in the opening game of the 1910-1911 season. And in total at Rangers, Bobby made 46 appearances over 5 seasons and moved to Third Lanark in 1915. He made over 100 appearances at Third Lanark over 4 years, and in 1919 he joined Greenock Morton. At Morton, Bobby made 131 appearances, scoring 3 goals, and was a left back in the 1922 Scottish Cup final when Morton beat his old club Rangers 1-0. That game was watched by 73,000 spectators. Bobby left Morton to join Kilmarnock in 1923, where he went on to make 49 appearances and scored 5 goals. And in 2014, Bobby and his Morton teammates from the cup-winning season of 1921-22 were inducted into the Greenock Morton Hall of Fame. So I'm sure you'll all agree, that's not a bad career from a boy from Cowanning. So I'd just like, again, apologies, but could you be upstanding? if you're able. And charge your glasses to Bobby Brown. Can I just ask Anne and Katie if they'll come up and accept the award, please?
I just want to say on behalf of the family, my sister and I would like to thank Cowanning Rangers Club for inviting us tonight. It's been a wonderful evening so far. We're very proud of our grandfather's achievements, and he would be so honoured if he knew that his name had been included in the Hall of Fame.
We would just like to thank Lee for all your hard work and the research you've done tonight. And the family would like to wish Kilwinning Rangers all the very best for the future.
Wasn't that incredible? And to think that 126 years ago, someone decided that they would start something that would last that long and mean that much to people, successive generations of people. I remember being taken to, I can say Papa in here. Usually when I do these things, it's in Glasgow. And when I say Papa, I get heckled. But down here, you know what I mean? You know, it's great to be back home. But he would take me up to Abbey Park. And the highlight, as I approached my 50th year, the highlight of my life looking back was when I won the raffle at 4 home games in succession. And I know, right? And it came to the grand total of £86, which my mum found in my room and was convinced I was drug dealing. That was later. But going about back me when I used to travel with the Buffs, it was in the 80s, and we would get the bus and we would go to places like Craigmark and Muirhead. I said Muirkirk, sorry, I apologise. I've been trying to scrub Muirkirk out my memory ever since. And the camaraderie was something else. And you would go along to my other team as Rangers, and it's so serious, and everybody's up to high do constantly. I mean, we haven't won a game since 2006, right enough, so that might explain it. But I've always found that when you come here, when we went to Abbey Park, there's a much bigger sense of what this is supposed to be, in terms of this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be something that we do together as friends and as family. And I think it's incredibly important, and that we never lose out on that. And that's why the work that Alan and Lee continue to do at the club is so important, because from my papa bringing me here, now my nephews go, their kids can go as well, but it can only go through the hard work of all the men and women who make this club what it is. So could you please give them a round of applause? We are going to take a break for 10 minutes, and you'll be able to go and refresh your glasses at the bar. And we'll be back in 10 minutes with the next set of inductions. David Jameson, who's going to present the case for our next inductee.
Okay, before I start with Daddy Alan, can I wish Alfie happy birthday? Right, here we go, folks. Our next Hall of Fame inductee is Mr. Alan McTurk. Alan did 3 spells at the Buffs and is our most successful player. On being released from Ayr United in 1993, Alan was close to signing for Stenhousemuir, but was persuaded by Jim McSherry and Alan McCluckie to sign for Kilwinning Rangers. Season 93-94 with some highs and lows. His omission from the team selection to play at Somerset Park in the semi-final was a sobering to take. He was back in the team for the next game and thereafter played in every game until the end of the season, which saw the Buffs unbeaten and winning the West of Scotland for the first time against the favourites, Shettleston. Alan left the Buffs to go and play in Australia and Singapore, and on his return in 97, signed on again at Abbey Park. He describes this as his happy and most successful. Better check with Gillian there. Aye. Most successful time in his football career. Winning trophies, being capped for Scotland, and being part of a fantastic team who, as we all know, completed the centenary year with the unrepeatable 6-trophy haul, including the Holy Grail, the Scottish Cup. On the move again, Alan had a season at Troon, where he added a 3rd West of Scotland Cup to his collection, and then on to Urban Mega. He then returned to manage the Buffs for 2 seasons, and though it was a bit of a rebuilding job, he managed to reach the Scottish Cup semi-final yet again, just to miss out on promotion under his tenure. So before inviting Alan up to receive his award, I can only hope it finds a place in his heart as dear to him as his most treasured award at his time at the Buffs, which was the Best Buns of the Year award. That trophy was lifted. And the silverware laden trophy of 1999, which, as it happens, is displayed in the Buffs Museum. But I'm sure it would look good with your mantelpiece beside your Hall of Fame award, Alan. So, if you could all charge your glasses, please. Up you get, stand up. There you go. Alan McTurk. So without further ado, could I ask you all to put your hands together and welcome Mr. Alan McTurk to come and receive his Hall of Fame award. All right. All right, buddy. Okay. Thank you, folks.
Hello. Oh. I would just like to thank Lee for setting up this Hall of Fame. I think it's a fantastic thing he's done at the club. Obviously, I had 3 spells here at Kilwinning. The first was when I left Ayr United, 93-94. I was going to stay senior, and Alan McCluckie and Jim McSherry persuaded me to come here. Fantastic season. There's a couple of boys in here tonight that I played with. Big Danny Sloan, Kobe, Alan McCluckie Jr. So it was great. Jerry was there as well. That year, we got to the Scottish Cup semi-final down at Somerset, my old stomping ground, and it's probably the worst time I've ever had at the Buffs. Jim McSherry read the team out, and Big Kenny Wilson sitting across from me, and me and Kenny were good pals. And he read the starting 11 out, and I wasn't in the starting 11, and I thought, I can't believe that. And then he read, in the days you only get two subs, and I wasn't playing. I couldn't look at him in the dressing room. I just picked my stuff up, walked out onto the park, and Alan McCluckie was the chairman at the time. He says, Alan, this is the night to show here they made a mistake. I says, I'm not playing. And he went, what? I says, I'm not playing the night. He says, well, if you're on the bench when you come on, I says, I'm not even on the bench either. I don't think Alan was best pleased because he had a few quid on us that night as well. But obviously, we got beat off of Largs. I was coming in here the night and I met the Largs captain who's sitting over there, Jimmy Murray. And Jimmy Murray's like that. I know that walk. And he went, and he says, that night when you weren't involved, he says, it was brilliant for us. He says, 2 big centre forwards. He says, that suited me down to a tee, and obviously Largs went on and won it. That week, that season, on the Monday night, we went into, I can't mind who we played, whoever it was. We went to the end of the season and we won the West of Scotland Cup that year. I think it was probably me, Kobe, Jerry, Danny Sloan, Alan McCluckie Jr. So a lot of boys that are here tonight all won it. And obviously we repeated it in 98, 99, and a few of the boys done that as well. So no, I had great time there. Obviously I went away abroad, came back, 97, 98. Signed with the Buffs again, and the 99 season was fantastic. It's there's a lot of clubs done fantastic in the junior game, but I don't think anybody has ever won the 6 trophies. So that was phenomenal season. The squad that we had was fantastic. There was numerous players, and I think it's quite fitting. One of the guys who's getting an award tonight scored the winning goal in the 99 Cup final to bring the trophy back to Kilwinning. As I said, at the end of that, obviously, I think it was 2003-04 when we won the Super Premier League. And at the time, it was Mark Shanks was the manager. And he says, oh, look, I think I was maybe 33, 34. He says, look, we'll maybe bring a couple of players in. I said, look, I want to stay. I don't want to go anywhere. I think that year I was top goal scorer for the midfield. I think I scored more goals than all the midfielders put together. I says, I don't want to go anywhere. And he says, oh, look, I don't, but the club never retained us. So I ended up, I left, went to Troon for a year, went to Irvine Meadow, I don't like to say that. And then Alan McCluckie phoned me up. He says, Alan, can you come and meet me? So I went and met him. He says, would you come back as a manager? So at the time it was rebuilding. I says, right, I'll come back. I asked Ian Jardine to come. We'll go joint managers. And he went, no, he's offered you the job, man. So I come back as a manager. I think we had 2 players signed. The first player I ever signed as a manager, he's sitting here tonight with Stuart Wilson. There he's there. That's the first player I ever signed for the Buffs as a manager. So it's like, it was a rebuilding process, and you're trying to bring boys in because obviously the Buffs, the name was fantastic, but obviously they get relegated, whatever. So you're bringing boys in, and we probably never had the most technically gifted players, but we had a great dressing room, and that's one thing I think goes a long way. And obviously we missed out in promotion that year. We got to the Scottish Cup semi-final. Unfortunately, Kelty Hearts beat us in the semi. But no, my time at the Buffs, I can't probably the best in my football career. I played in Scotland, I played in Australia, Singapore, but I'd say the Buffs is the best memories I've ever got. And as I've said earlier, when Lee said to me about the Hall of Fame, and there's a gentleman getting inducted tonight, and if it wasn't for Alan McCluckie Senior, the Buffs wouldn't be where they are today. And I thank Alan for bringing me. You know, I was at the club 3 times on and off, and I've had great times here, great memories, and thanks everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. We will now move on to our next induction of the evening. We better calm, please. Thank you. And can I ask Chris Strain to come up? Thank you.
This induction to the Cowannon Rangers Hall of Fame is well deserved, and it's for Ben Lewis. If you Google Ben Lewis Cowannon Rangers, the first thing that pops up is Mr. Co-winning, it says. And honestly, it couldn't be more accurate. After 18 seasons with the Buff, that's right, 18 seasons, Ben's seen it all. The highs, the lows, the promotions, the relegations, the dodgy pitches, even dodgier referees. He's seen it all. And the way he's going, he'll hit 20 years without breaking a sweat. Before we go into his stats and silverware, let's rewind to 2007. Picture this. A fresh-faced 16-year-old Ben turns up for a trial match under Billy Thompson and Ross Finlay. He bangs in a hat-trick against a local amateur side, and that was that. They signed him up on the spot, and he's barely looked back since. Ben came through the Buffs at the juveniles with Cash's dad, Ian Cashmore Senior, and played in these pitches long before they were as nice as the other day. They were probably a bit of a field in a pond when Ben plodded around on them. But we can see obviously how far the club's progressed and what they've done down here. But the reason that they obviously moved down here is to bring through people like Ben. And Ben was probably the first graduate of the pathway that somebody views as the future towards Cowannon Rangers. So Cashy is a big fan of Ben, obviously because he's seen Ben coming through with his dad. And Cashy, like Alan, has probably been signed 3 times with the Buffs. And Cashy thinks it's because he's got a telepathic understanding with Ben, but it's actually because Ben can't drive and we need somebody to give him a lift. In the early years, Ben was a golden boy of a Buffs team, which, let's just say, didn't quite reach the dizzying heights of the teams that you've heard about at this moment in time. He scored a lot of goals. He had a great eye for goal, often playing off the right-hand side in the early days, and he set as many up as he scored. Under George Grierson, Ben really came into his own. The club didn't have a lot of money, not that that ever mattered to Ben. And when we took over in 2003, Colin Stewart, myself, one of the first things we did was offer Ben a new contract. And I still remember haggling with him over a £5. I can remember getting into contract negotiations with Alan McCluckie Senior, and he was tougher to deal with than I was because I gave him his extra £5. But he did say to me at the time, Gaffer, you know I would play for this team for nothing. But there's boys getting decent money and I think I deserve that £5. And it's the best £5 I ever gave MD. Over the years, he's probably been vastly underpaid. That's what happens when you're for Cowannon. When you play for the Buffs, tend to lowball you. However, it's never been about money for Ben. His heart's always been in it for the club. He had trials with Kilmarnock and Stoneyard were sniffing around him too when we were in charge, but he probably couldn't bring himself to leave Cowannon. Cowannon was his home. So let's talk about these numbers I spoke about. 500 plus appearances for the club. He will, without doubt, be the club's record appearance holder. He's got 200 plus goals, 5 times Player of the Year at Coinning, which is the award we all like to win as players. It's that award that your fellow teammates get you. Although Sam might remember one of these trophies never made it back home for the Blacklands Bowling Club. He lost it in a state of, let's just say, drunkenness. But Ben's magic isn't in his stats. He's no flashy. He never hogs the limelight. And he's actually quite a pretty shy boy, unless there's a karaoke mic. He likes how we chant. He's the ultimate team player. Always at training. Always putting himself first. Always the first to help. If there's an event on or anything for Coinning, he's the guy that will sacrifice his time and he'll come down and help out. In a dressing room full of big personalities and even bigger egos, Ben's the calm in the storm. He's the kind of teammate every manager wants and every player respects. And behind every great man is a great support team. Ben's family have always been there every step of the way. His brothers, who look like the Russian dolls when they line up at the side of the park. They're his biggest fans. They're always bursting with pride. And his mum, who sadly can't be here tonight because she's unwell, will be bursting with pride at the man Ben's become. Then there's Sam and the kids, the absolute centre of his world. I'll never forget the day he led out the team in the West of Scotland Cup final. He was with Carly and Lacey by his side and he was as proud as punch. Ben took that defeat really, really hard, harder than most because he's a local boy. But setbacks build character and Ben bounced back, leading us to back-to-back promotions, a Scottish Cup semi-final, and as a captain, probably his proudest moment was lifting the Ayrshire Cup at Meadow Park. He's played with some top players, boys that are now playing in Premiership in England. He's played with some no so top players, boys that are sitting at the table beside him. And here's hoping now he can become that experienced head for Kevin and the team just now, because there's a lot of young boys coming through at the Buffs, and Ben has got that kind side where he'll take them to the side and help them, and they might even be the next Ben Lewis, or it might even be his own wee lad Ollie, who hopefully turns out to be as good a player as his dad. Of course, no career is without its blips, and there's one moment Ben still carries with him. Have to mention it, pal. That penalty miss in the Scottish Cup semi-final up at Bellsdale. I could greet for him at the time, but people do forget that he scored and the performances that he put in the run to get us to the semi-final. And when you're a local lad, people like to have a wee jibe. As I heard a few boos even when I got up there, which is water off a duck's back to me. But some people take that to heart, and Ben did take that penalty miss to heart. It never made it up the Bellsdale slope. The worst penalty I've ever seen in my life. But the kid got us there. He scored 18 out of 20 penalties for the Buffs, but it's the ones that you miss that folk remember. He also missed one at Glenafton, by the way, in the last minute of the game. And it ended up with me climbing the barrier to argue with probably that bunch up there. It probably was Stuart. I know you'll be shocked that I was arguing with Wayne fans, but I would honestly defend him to the hilt, and it's because of the type of boy he is. So here's the thing: Ben Lewis has given everything to this club. His time, his energy, his loyalty. He's an outstanding football player. And I mean outstanding. That sometimes gets forgotten about. But he's an even better teammate and one of the finest footballing people I've ever met in my life. I liked him that much that I named my first son after him. So tonight, it's only right that we welcome him to the Coinning Rangers Hall of Fame. Nobody, in my opinion, deserves it more. And who knows what the future holds for Ben and the Buffs. But one thing's for sure, this club will always be in his debt and the club will always be in his heart. So here's to you, Ben. I'm not going to ask you to get up because I think we're all tired. But I would ask you to put your hands together and give Ben a rousing round of applause.
No, Chris, I'll definitely not be speaking as long as what you did there. That's a guarantee. No, I'd just like to say thanks to Chris for coming down and giving the kind words. That means a lot to me. It's he's gone on holiday in about 5 years, I know. So I know it means a lot, and I'm really privileged to be able to accept this award. As Chris said, I've played about between 500 and 600 games for the club over 16 years, maybe 18's a bit of a push, Gaffer, but 16 years I think it is, and no, it means a lot. And as I said about my goals, in my younger years I scored a lot, but now that I'm getting a bit older, I'm nearly playing centre half now. I think the only position I've not played is in goals, so there's time for that yet. But no, it's an absolute honour to have my name up on this board with these guys. It actually feels a bit strange. I'm 34. I was 8 when these guys were playing in the Scottish Cup final, so I was there on that day, and it means so much to me to be able to have my name up there with them. And I'd just like to thank you all for coming along tonight. And I'm gutted my mum can't be here, as Chris said, but aye, this is for her, and that's thanks.
Right then, folks, we are going to take another break. We're going that threw me. Well done. That threw me. We're going to take another break, and then we'll be back with the final inductions of the evening.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let us get back to your seats. I'd like to introduce our host back to the stage.
Hello again, everybody. If I could just ask you to take your seats as quickly as possible, and we'll move on to our final two inductions of the evening. I'm going to, the last two are two absolutely legendary names in the history of this club. And I'd like to invite David Jameson back up. And he will do the first of the inductions.
Right, my instructions are hold the mic up and don't mention anything sexual. Here we go. Main event. Welcome, everybody. It's with great pleasure that tonight we're all here to invite Mr. Alan McCluckie, MBE, to be inducted into the Corinne Rangers Hall of Fame. Alan's association with the Buffs began as a schoolboy, staying at 91 Ladyford Avenue, back to back with Old Clubhouse at Abbey Park. He'd be there to help out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, getting the old coal-fire boiler up, running for the hot water for the baths after the training. Saturday match days were the same. In addition to the boiler duties, he had a very important task of collecting the Blair's bookies lines to Joe Thompson, the bookie at the Howgate. Alan played for the Buffs under Hammy Walker, and at 16, signed for Beith, won the league title that year. Time moves on, and after meeting Evelyn and getting married and with twin boys to provide for, he stepped back from playing football and once again got involved with the Buffs in the early 70s. Around this time, the family moved to Church Street, and Alan was working for Dunlop Westia, unfortunately, who fell into receivership. So in 1978, he started out in business and had to resign for Corinne Rangers to concentrate his efforts on building what became a very successful business. Alan recalls on the night of his resignation, when walking home to Church Street across Abbey Park, that should his venture ever be successful, he'd be back in the future to help out with sponsorship and support for the Buffs. So in 1985, back to the Buffs he came and set in motion the professionalism and improvements that led to a centenary year that no one could have dreamed of, 1999. The legacy of Alan's leadership and involvement of Kilwinning Rangers can never be overstated. Another of Alan's passions, horse racing, gave him a nickname, Lucky McCluckie, from a certain Willie Mullins, for exploits on the racecourse. The luck had nothing to do with what he achieved in his business career and the total transformation at Kilwinning Rangers. That was all down to drive, determination, and ambition. Thank you so much, Alan. Skip the standing up bit. So can we all put our hands together and welcome Alan up to collect his very well-deserved Hall of Fame award. Just like them, don't worry about it. Have that, buddy. I'll put that on the table.
Well, thanks very much for Lee. I'd like to thank you for organising an excellent night tonight. So put your hands together for Lee and what he's done for the club. Now I want to talk about 3 areas tonight. First of all, the committee of 1999. You've got to hand it to them for the work ethic they did and what they did for the club in that particular year. Unfortunately, some of them are no longer with us. People like Tommy Moore, Matt Ray, Albert Martin, Tom McLaughlin. These guys were excellent custodians. I'd also like to thank all the players that played with the Buffs in my time. Some of them in here tonight, and they've got to be complimented for the success that they brought to the club. So put your hands together for these boys. And last but not least, the community. As David said, like, you know, my number one priority was to try and bring something to the community because we had a business that was employing a lot of people. And we felt that it was time to do something for the community. And when I look back in the final, when we brought the cup back and that bus, that open top bus, through Kilwinning Main Street, up through into the town, when I seen all these people out there, there was a feeling of a community. I mean, there must have been, the full village must have been out at that time. That was payback time for me when I seen all these people in the community working together. So I'm not going to stand up here and talk about much more because I'm quite sure you want to have a few drinks. But anyway, thanks very much for your attendance and time. Thank you.
And we come to the final inductee of the inaugural Kilwinning Rangers Hall of Fame ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to welcome back up Alan McCluckie Sr. And I can think of nobody more fitting than to present this award than Alan.
So what can we say about Jerry Pellini? Anybody want to come up here and talk about Jerry? Well, we signed Jerry Pellini for Kilpurna Leeds side. And he played up there as a midfield player. We were actually looking for a striker at the time. And we'd actually contacted Kilburn about their striker, a guy called Stuart Mocklin. Unfortunately, he wasn't available for sale. So we see enough in Jerry. We watched Jerry a few games. We see enough in Jerry that it was potentially could be a striker. And he took the role. We decided to sit Jerry down and explain to him our position, like, you know, that we wanted to go from a midfield player to being a striker. And he accepted that, and he was actually took aback. He was probably a wee bit amazed for us to ask him that question. But he embraced the challenge and went for it. And it became quite a player. In fact, it was struggling here. He actually took on the role and he started to score goals for fun. And I'm sorry, but I can't remember. Jerry, I'm sorry. I mean, he became a fan's favourite, Jerry, on and off the pitch. And he used to.
Just to come back on what Alan just said, what really happened was Jerry was a midfield player with Coburnie, and myself and Danny Sloan were the two centre halves at the Buffs at that time. So what happened is we played Coburnie at Abbey Park, and Coburnie beat us 3-0. Jerry scored the 3 goals. So after the game, me and Danny went into Alan and goes, "You need to sign him, he's brilliant." And he did. Is that right?
Hey, Jimmy, you're not finished yet. Are you finished, Jimmy? Anyway. Anyway, Jerry, there's not much more I can say about you because that is okay. I mean, how Jerry never made it senior, I don't know. He was one of the best strikers in the game that I've seen, and he should have been a senior player. He used to, home games, he used to get up through to catch the train for Paisley. He used to pop in the local pubs to see the punters and have a good session with them. And where are we now? I scored a lot of goals. Jerry scored a lot of goals. So important goals in league games and cup games. But the most important goal was the one that he brought back with the Scottish Cup. When they brought the Scottish Cup back, Jerry scored the winning goal.
Jerry, the goal, right? Turned the full town, right? Blue and white, right? That made my dad's absolute time at the Buffs Park for winning the Scottish Cup, right? And the season the players had and everybody else and the committee and the fans behind the team that year were unbelievable. Everywhere we went, the places were mobbed, pitches, the support for the full community was great, right? And it would be good to have that back. It's a hard thing today. And as Alan McTuck said earlier, there'll no be another team that does that, right? And that was down to the players, the full committee, and the supporters and everybody else. But Pauline, there's a few stories for Jerry. Are we allowed to tell? He used to come down. We'll tell one story about Jerry. He used to come down in the train to Paisley, right? Get off the train, come into the training, and he had a set of golf clubs. And he's like to Big Wellesley, "Do you play golf?" Aye. He says, "Daily record putter here." Right, that must be worth me. Give me 50 and they're yours. That was Jerry to a T, right? Complete character, right? And he spent a few nights, old Evelyn had to look after him. But mother had too much vodka. Jerry would be up all night. Then my mother had to get him to bed, then get him up the road the next morning. But true star, Pauline, all right? Thanks very much.
Well, without more ado, it's maybe time for Jerry to come up here and give you a good account of himself. Jerry.
I would just like to say a few words about Mr. McClucky. He's a remarkable man and a gentleman for what he done for Kilwinning Rangers Football Club back in the 1990s. This man brought me for Kilburn Lakeside, as he said, and he put his money where his mouth was. And he spent a lot of money bringing talented football players to Kilwinning Rangers. And that's why this club was so successful in the 90s. So I would like to thank Mr. McClucky tonight for what he done for this football club. I'd also like to thank the players, my teammates. Back in the 90s, a lot of players. I could go through them all, but I've not got time. I'm time for a pint. What he done for this football club is unbelievable. He put a club on the map in the 90s. And I'd also like to thank Kilwinning Rangers Football Club for the great times and the memories that I had. So thanks very much to everyone tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
We have one more order of business before we move on to the raffle, and that is that it is Alfie McClucky's birthday today. So, with that in mind, I believe there is a birthday cake coming in, but could you please begin to sing happy birthday to Alfie? Hey! Hey! Hooray! Right, folks, it's come to the part of the evening. We're just about to finish up the formal part and then the food will be served. But before we do that, we'll do the raffle. So we're just waiting on the raffle prizes coming up. The prizes are, you'll all have entered in, and the prizes are a £30 bar tab donated by Graham Sutherland, 2 tickets to a fans event, which is to be revealed, club tie and an umbrella, which you might need on leaving here tonight. A bottle of malt donated by David Jimison. Thank you, Davey. A gym membership, which I could probably do with. A fancy bottle of gin. And then the main prize, dinner for 2 at the Riverside Hotel with bed and breakfast. And that was sourced by David Cormack. So thank you very much to David for that. So here we go. Right, Lee is going to do the draw. You do it and hand it to me. Everybody trusts you.
So before we continue, does everybody get their names in? Has everybody put their envelopes in? We all good? We all good? Happy days.
Right. Okay, and the winner of the £30 bar tab is Doreen Andrew. Did he see you about this? Did he see you about the prizes? You have to see Lee just after we're finished drawing. The winner of the 2 tickets to the fans event is Janet Frey. I'll write on them. Next prize is the club tie and umbrella. And the winner is Anthony Lapsley. Still hope. This is for the bottle of malt. And it's Karen Cormack. The gym membership is won by Robin Wilson. This is for a bottle of Malfi gin. Alison McCluckey. And now for our main prize of the evening, dinner for two at the Riverside Hotel with a bed and breakfast. And the winner is Brian Jordan. Is he? I'll just do the wrap up. Right then, folks. The food is about to be served, but before we do, settle. You've only got a wee bit to go, and then we'll do there's going to be food, there's going to be dancing, there's going to be drinking, there's going to be celebrations. But can I, just before we finish up for the evening, thank you to everyone for coming, and could we have a round of applause for Lee? He's done an absolutely first-class job here. I think we would all agree on that. Ladies and gentlemen, the Buffs. Thank you very much. Good night.
And ladies and gentlemen, can we get one last round of applause for our host this evening, David Edgar?